Eddie, it's the evening. You have a good morning cup.
It's always morning time.
I know you just woke up. But...
I have to let everyone know.
Welcome everyone to our second award show. We are here with Darcell Bios, the filmmaker responsible for Misery with a period. Before we get started with the interview, we wanted to let you guys know that for whatever reason, we were short on entries this month. We had enough entries submitted to run the competition part of the festival, but not enough entries were submitted to actually give out the prize money, which hurt us a lot.
Yes.
How did September go?
September, well, it went worse than our
September
original.
went worse than August. What is up? How many entries did we get in September?
I don't remember. But I know it was at least half of what we had in the first month.
As in this number?
Oh, no.
I don't think we got any short of the weeks during September.
Oh, September.
Yes, that's not
this September. That
not
just
that
passed September.
Yeah, you mean this one.
Yeah, no, we got 0.
So you guys, what's going on? We can't run a festival without entries. So you help us, we help you. That's kind of how it works.
Yes,
So
totally.
let's do better for October. Yes, I see Darcell agreeing with us on the computer. In fact, let's cut over to Darcell. Hi, Darcell.
Hello, hi.
How are you today?
I am doing pretty good. Pretty excited about this interview here.
Good. I know you waited over a month to talk to us.
Yeah, that was interesting. Just communication on everybody's part was like...
Right. Oh,
We're
technology. You live and die by it. Cool. So we're here today talking about Misery with a period.
Yes.
Was that done on purpose?
Yes, it was done on purpose. The reason being was that I felt that I needed to stress that it was sort of finite, that misery and suffering doesn't last always. So that's the reason for the period.
There is an end to the suffering and pain.
Yes, correct.
That's nice.
Exactly.
I like that a lot. Well, what inspired you to write and direct such a film?
Well, first and foremost, Misery was not even the original film. I was actually filming 2 separate films. One was about police brutality, and the other film was a horror short, and it was called Under the Streetlight. I literally filmed that in like the entire film. It would have been around like 8 or 10 minutes or so. And then I was going back and I was watching some of the footage and things, and I was like, this is awful. I was like, this is not good. Like, it just, in the moment, it seemed great. But once I went back and I was sitting at my computer and I was trying to like blend the scenes together, the story was just flawed, and the editing, and then the lighting, the low light, it just was too much for me. And I said, I have to find something else. And so what I did was, I love, the horror genre. And you don't really see that many African-American filmmakers in that specific genre. But I didn't want to go with a stereotypical horror story of some family moving into a house where there's this ghost in it, and then you're like, oh no, who is the ghost? And they die. You don't want to do all of that. And so what I did was I sat down and I said, now what really scares me? What would really, what is something that I truly fear? And what I came to find out was that the idea of not being able to communicate, the idea of being trapped somewhere and no one can really help you. And so then I began to manifest that more realistically and not so, not creatively, but I wanted to be very real about this. So it really, met home with people. And I thought about, I had a relative who was suffering from ALS, And eventually it got to the point where he could not communicate at all. And I was like, well, his brain is still functioning, but he can't relate to anybody what he's feeling, how he feels, any decision that he wants to make. And so that's what I came up with the idea of Oliver in my story having ALS. And that's pretty much what drove me to making this film, was what actually would scare me in real life to have to go through.
Very nice. So it started from a smaller idea, wanted to make a horror film, and it actually expanded into something truly meaningful, and I think that other people can also relate to.
And that's what I really wanted, because I think that, and here's a bit esoterically, but I think that, with everyone, we don't really know what people go through. What you see on the outside is completely different than what may be actually going on in the inside. And so that was really the message that I wanted to relate to people, that if you are able to check in with somebody and see how they're doing, and keep things afloat with them, you should, because you don't really know what they have to go through.
That's very true. That's very true.
Around what time period did you make this film? Was this during like all those ice bucket challenges, or was this before, after that time?
No, this was the month of August, or actually, wait, let me see. It was in July. I did
Nice.
All this was in. So during our first month, this film was made. Okay. Wow, that really put things into perspective.
Yeah,
that's cool. Yeah. That's cool. I really like the contrasted colors between the black and white during those scenes. Oh, I'm not sorry, black and red. Can you tell us a little bit about why red was chosen as the highlight color, and how that was achieved?
Well, first what I did was okay, I'm an actor first. And so I relate, me and my technique, I relate feelings and emotions to colors. Ironically, I'm wearing red and black right now. And I don't feel miserable, so don't.
That's good.
I couldn't tell.
So what I did was I thought of the word, I thought about the story first, and then I thought about what that was, which was misery. And then I just sat back and I was like, well, what colors do I envision represents misery, or, tragedy, or, any synonym to that. And I thought of black and red because I thought about blood. And when you think of evil, you think of red. And then when you also like fear, people afraid of the dark, you think of darkness. So that's kind of where I came up with the black and red. But technically, I did that so I was able to cast where we were shooting this particular part of the film at, because it was actually at one of my friends' in their dining room is where we shot. Like he was laid out across the dining room table. We were like looking out for his mom. Like we were like, oh my God, we don't want them to come in and get on us for laying across the table. And we wanted to suspend this reality of being in the depths of the mind. And so that's where most of like the darkness and things came together in this fantasy-esque realm, I guess you would say.
Nice.
Very cool. The red color itself, was that just like red colored light bulbs, or was that changed in post-production?
It was in post-production. I thought about buying red light bulbs, then I said to myself and to my bank account, and I couldn't do it. So I just figured out how to do it in post-production.
That's really cool. I was watching that. I myself do a lot of editing, both for freelance and for my own projects. And I was watching that, and I was like, this came across like the stark contrast and almost like the Rembrandt effect of it. It was hard for me to tell if it was practical lighting or if it was done in post. So
Okay.
very good job blending that, because like I couldn't tell, like as an editor.
Wow. Thank you.
And he's been editing for like 10 years strong. So I'm more so like interested in the fact that I couldn't tell that was a dining table, let alone inside of the kitchen.
That's also like what's so great about independent,
That is
no
true.
budget filmmaking is like where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
You find ways to make things work given what you have. Essentially making something from nothing, which is what we're all about.
Right.
Exactly.
So very good job on using your resources there.
Thank you. Thank you.
So the big question is, how much did it cost?
I think the only thing that I had to pay for was a new light bulb for one of my soft boxes. So I think it cost me $7.
Wow. That is
$7.
nice.
That's
Oh
Yeah.
man,
amazing.
that is good.
Wow.
Yeah, everything else I just got, like, once again, my mom's gonna kill me if she ever sees this, but and she did kill me when she saw the film, but I used because Oliver, he was like wrapped in like these light bulbs, right? And those were just like the lights that are used to outline the patio. So I was like,
Oh.
Patio lights.
yeah, and I was like, okay, this looks real, like very like Tim Burton almost, and and also it helped me too because the low light quality. I was like, gosh, how am I gonna do that? I used the light bulbs to help light the scene a bit, so you can still see. It was just enough light so that you could tell that there's a person there.
Also, out of curiosity, what camera was used to film it?
The Canon T5i.
I would never, I would not have guessed.
Yeah, no.
No, the footage was really crisp. It really was. Like when I was watching, I was like, "Oh, wow!" I'm telling you, you know how to make use of resources and make it look good.
Oh, definitely.
Wow, thank you. In photography, they say that the best camera you can get is the one that you afford. That's the one you can afford. That's the best one to have. So,
I myself have always been a proponent of because like in our circles, people always make a big deal about like what camera is used to
Yeah.
film what, and I'm like, it's not the camera, it's the person using it. that
Exactly.
Really, it's just a tool.
yeah, that's like saying Whitney Houston had great microphones.
Mhm.
It's like,
I've never heard that analogy. I love that comparison.
That is
I mean,
amazing.
come on.
That is amazing. You mean it wasn't the microphones?
I thought it was the whole time.
It actually takes talent? Oh my goodness.
You don't say. What was your favorite part about filming this, or even just producing this project altogether, and what were some challenges that you went through?
It really would have to be like the fantasy world because I've always wanted to. So I would watch films and I'd be like, that was great. But like, if they could have just did this or did that to it. And I think what's important, and I think it goes back to me being an actor where you kind of have to create your character. And they say that, you need to be real under imaginary circumstances. So it was really creating that environment, like from the ground up, trying to make it seem like it wasn't like you can't really tell where it was, and trying to really try to convey that message. And I think the most difficult part about it was, I think it would still have to be that scene. I think because the other part of it was shot, in one place, except when you had flashbacks of him, and that was just like in the backyard on the patio. Um, yeah, it was pretty much shot. It was shot in the living room. We had this big window, and I was like, gosh, I need some good light. So I was like, we rearranged the whole living room, and I was like, take this couch and put it up close to the window. And so, yeah, I think the misery scene, I guess, or that alternate world would be my favorite and the most difficult part of the process.
Yeah, totally. I'm still reeled from it. I didn't see a fridge, a counter, anything of the sort.
You didn't clear the kitchen, did you? No.
No.
So that's
Yeah,
that's
that's what I'm
fantastic
saying,
lighting
yeah.
that you did, because we didn't see any of that at all.
Mhm.
No hint whatsoever that it took place in a kitchen.
And I tried to be consistent because, in it, how you saw like the light bulb swinging. I was sitting there and I said, snap now, I can't have these moving lights and not have light moving in the scene. So I had, he's like my little brother, future lighting technician. He had the softbox, and I said, all you have one job, just sit here and go like this. Wave it across the room.
That's easy
and
to
just
do.
keep doing it.
Alright.
Yeah.
I can do that. Can I be your lighting technician?
That's exact. Yeah, I'll hire you. That's all you have to do. And so, luckily, he was efficient on that, and so I didn't get anyone saying, "So how are the light bulbs moving?" But the light in the room is not moving. So that part was very interesting.
How did you fall into filmmaking? Because you said you're an actor. How did filmmaking become a thing for you?
Well, I'm an actor first, but my long term goal is to open a production company. And so I started maybe 2 years ago, about, yeah, 2 or 3 years ago, and getting into like the cameras and things like that, and learning, because I felt as though if I'm going to try to run a production company, I need to be able to understand all aspects of it. Instead of, and it's difficult, of course, trying to be the actor, the director, the cinematographer, the lighting tech. That's all difficult. But if you know what you want, you know about it, you can effectively get, your vision accomplished and achieved. So I fell into filmmaking strictly because, and I won't mention the show. Well, I think this helped me. It was one of my favorite shows, and I was watching it, and I was like, why did y'all go this way in this script? Why did the series take this turn? I was highly upset. I said, what you could have done was this, and what you didn't do, I mean, it's just like you've missed so many great opportunities. And so I said, well, the best way to get what I want is not sitting there being mad at everyone else for not doing what I want them to do, but I would actually have to venture out and step out and try to create my own. And so that's where I kind of went into filmmaking. I think filmmaking for me, or films in general, are much more intimate than the stage. I say more intimate, but I guess I mean more real, because you're up close and you're not trying to be so, you don't have to be so grand as on the stage to try to reach the person way in the balcony. And so when you have the camera up close to you, you have it in your face, everybody's watching you like this. And so everything exactly. And so everything that you do, there is no try to cover up. There is no try to fake through the emotion. You really have to be what it is that you're trying to convey in the story. And so that, coupled along with me wanting to make my own production company, made me fall into filmmaking.
I had a question about the option of making the film, I guess technically silent, as opposed to using dialogue. Was it something that you went into knowing that's what you wanted to do?
I think first and foremost, okay, because the film happened so quickly and it was not the original film, I didn't really have time to sit down and to, write a script and things like that. And I think because of the subject matter, and I think because of, what it was, the message that I wanted to convey about how people suffer in silence, I think that having the film silent for what you see on the outside was correct for both the message, and it just so happened to help me out in having to hold up like a studio microphone and try to like move it around and things like that, and do a lot of adjustments and editing, in post production.
What are some projects coming up for you? What's in the works?
What's next for Darcell?
I've been in the process of writing this story. I'm not really sure if I want it to be a play. I don't know if I want it to be a film. Well, I know it's not going to be a film right now because of the budget required to make this. Um, and I'm trying to figure out if I want it to be a book to really delve into the story, you know. So the name of the first project that I'm working on is Chateau of Deceit. And of course, Chateau is French for house. And so basically what that is about, it's about a black owned plantation. Um, yeah, definitely. And yeah, and about, it encompasses, first of all, it takes place in New Orleans. So you have such a lot of different, supernatural things to go about. You have voodoo, spirits and everything to work into this. And so I think that first of all, it is something that you don't see, you don't hear about, and it existed. There were black owned plantations, even though it was 0.00063% of the plantations. And also, kind of giving out, the history the history of that, because some people owned slaves for economic reasons, like 99% of everyone else, and other people were owning slaves to purchase their families back and to reunite their families. So that's one project. And the next project is actually a short film. It's called Imaginary. And it's about this teen who's, well, he's pretty much your average teen. He's about, I think he's a junior in high school, and he's kind of different because he has an imaginary friend, a legit imaginary friend, which is a bit strange. I don't know many high schoolers who have imaginary friends, but it's really about how things, because they're legit friends, like they're great, they're best friends. You think that they grew up together, like from they were born at the same day, they grew up together in diapers, went to elementary school, middle school, and high school together. So it's about how, friendship and happiness and love and overcoming is not as imaginary as some people may think. And that's pretty much what that story is about. So those are two projects that I'm working on right now.
Nice, nice. I guess my last question would really be, what advice do you have for aspiring filmmakers out there, people that are able to watch this interview and watch Misery and upcoming things? What advice do you give to these individuals that are faced with, all these gear questions, or they don't have the money to do so?
I was gonna say ditto. You stole my last question also. So I'm gonna ask you the same question verbatim what he said.
Well, I think first and foremost, as a filmmaker, as an artist, if you're a writer, a director, you're an artist, you need to make sure that your work is your work and that you don't allow other people to come in and tell you the way in which you should do your work. You need to make sure, and this, I'm not saying not to take suggestions or critiques or notes or anything like that, but you have to make sure, because you are producing the work, that the work is authentic to you. That's the first thing. And the next thing I would say is that don't do it if it's something that you really don't want to do. Never do anything just to do it, because then after you do it, you're not going to want to watch it anymore. You're going to be like, because you had a horrible time. You really didn't want to do it. And then you end up kind of putting something together. And then by doing that, you're disrespecting art, and then you're disrespecting yourself as the artist. So you never want to do that. And I think the last thing that I would say, and I think this is like Shakespeare or something. He says, to thine own self be true. So make sure that, you're being very honest with what it is that you're doing. And Erykah Badu said, I'm an artist and I'm sensitive about my insert derogatory word. But, you need to make sure that what you're doing is very honest and it's very true, and that it has a purpose. Because what does a lie do? What does deceit do? It doesn't help anything. So I think that if what you're doing is, one, it's authentic to you, two, that you make sure that, everything that you do has a purpose, three, and that it's honest and that you're truly conveying a message and not just doing it and you're enjoying the process and you actually care about the work, then you have nothing else to do but be successful in your craft or whatever your endeavor is. So I think that's my word of advice.
That's beautiful, beautifully spoken. And I do resonate with a lot of that. Like almost everything you said. That's pretty true.
It's very true. If anybody wanted to view your work, where can they find you?
Well, you can, first and foremost, my photography page is darcelldesigns.com. And you could see like some of the different projects I have going on there. And I also have some of my some cinematography work on there as well. Or you can go to YouTube and type in Darcell Bios, and you will find everything that I've done since 2007 on there.
There you have it.
Darcell Bios, everybody. Thank you for the interview. Thank you for your time and for coming on the show.
Thank you. Same to you. Thank you for allowing a platform for independent artists to come and display their work and have it seen. So thank you for doing your jobs too.
Oh, it's appreciated. Thank you so much. We'll catch you later, Darcell. Keep in touch.
Definitely. All right then.
You have a great one.
You too.
Thank you guys for joining us on the show today. I felt really bad not giving Darcell any money this
Yeah.
month. Like, he's an awesome dude.
Yeah.
It's October the 1st, actually.
It is
As
the
of this
1st.
recording, it's October 1st. You guys have a whole month. Submit your stuff. It's Halloween. If that's not inspiration enough for you guys to start making shorts or submit old projects, what have you, I would love to give away $1,000 for next month's show.
Yes. We want to help you guys out, and we would love to give that amazing person with their amazing story $1,000. So submit, please.
Thank you guys for watching. Catch you all in a month.
I will be your imaginary friend. Have me walk around, I walk right next to you. Hey, can we have Taco Bell?
I go to Taco Bell and I order the whole menu. The guy thinks it's all for me.
And you're like, no, it's for Eddie. It's Eddie. Bottomless pit. Yeah. And no one will ever know. Imaginative. Imaginative.